Welcome to the podcast. My guest today is Dr. Amanda Respis. Did I get that correct?
You did.
She is the Assistant Professor of Pre-Modern World History. Now that's a long title at the Ohio State University-Marion. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now you folks, I'm speaking at OSUM, Ohio State University-Marion.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a great exhibit going on right now.
We do.
And we're here today to talk about the Silk Road exhibit.
Fantastic. Yes.
And let's see if I've got this straight. I'm going to read this right off the paper so I don't butcher this and make sure we got it right.
Sounds good.
And by the way, one of her areas of interest is in shipwrecks, and I told her before we went on there, I'm a living shipwreck. So this is why we're going to start this out the way I'm doing it today. The Silk Road exhibition is taking place at the Ohio State University in Marion, Ohio. It is in the Kuhn Fine Arts Gallery. It's located in Morrill Hall from now until March 15th.
That's correct.
And Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Thursday evenings in February. I want to emphasize February from 5 to 7. That's when this is doing. And I guess you said there was an extra date?
Yes, in March we have one evening on March 14th when we'll be open until 9 p.m. because that's when we have our amazing 5 nights programming. So if you're
Okay.
coming for 5 nights, you can come in and see the gallery.
All right, so now we got the preliminaries out of the way. Let's get down to the nitty gritty on this because you're the expert in this. When I say this, because there's a lot to be an expert on, because you're dealing with textiles, jewelry, gemstones. We're talking about, for those that don't know what we're talking about, Silk Road. Just enlighten to start it off.
Sure, fantastic. So the Silk Road, we sometimes imagine it as, one highway that connected Asia with Europe, but it was actually this incredibly long-lasting network of connections, network of roads. So we can call it like the Silk Roads, and that would be more correct. But I work on the maritime Silk Roads, so the trade of objects, ceramics, medicines by sea. But in our exhibit, what we're focusing on are the land routes. And we're looking at materials that were very expensive luxury goods that were traded from
Yes.
China to India to the Islamic world and then into Europe and the US.
Yeah, there's just a lot there.
Yeah.
What can I expect when I come to this?
You're going to
Exhibition.
be dazzled by beautiful silks. When you first walk into the gallery, you'll see these incredibly ornate gold embroidered silk materials from China, dating from the 19th century. We have an imperial court robe, a judge's robe. From the 19th century, we have incredibly luscious banners that are decorated with flowers and religious motifs. And then if you move into the next part of the gallery, you'll see materials from India. We have these incredibly gorgeous brocade textiles from Turkey. We have, we have a bridal dress from here in Ohio.
Really?
We do, and it's incredible. It's beautiful. It was donated by an Ohio family to the OSU Textiles Collection. But when you look at it next to these Asian materials, you see the influence between them.
Well, that's, when you're talking about trade and land routes and whatever, this is how things over time, you'll see certain influences in different parts of the country and say, well, gee, I've seen that before. Well, let's face facts. When people started trading, they liked something over there, so they bring it home to them, right?
Exactly.
Into their own area or land.
Exactly, yeah. And silk was such a sought-after commodity.
Yes.
Even in ancient Rome, they were very fascinated by silk, the way that it reflects light and it's made in a very unusual way. And we talk a little bit about how silk was actually first produced in China. And then that technology spread. And I've actually learned that there was a silk industry here in Ohio, in Marion, about a century ago. So there are definitely local connections to this global story.
I would think, like over time, you're talking very old things,
Yes.
and I'm speaking. It amazes me that the cloth of this would even be around, let alone
Yeah.
full garments.
Right. The oldest textile that we have in the exhibit is from the 1400s.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's Spanish velvet, and it's the same age as Christopher Columbus, right? And we have materials going back to, we have several materials from the 17th century from China. We have some of the earliest silks that were manufactured in Europe, in France, and then as the silk industry moved through England and then into the Americas. So, and then I don't want to leave out that we have some very impressive modern silk pieces. We have, if you're interested in high fashion, we have Christian Dior and we have Oscar de la Renta in our exhibit, and it's really kind of fascinating to put together these very modern looks with something that's centuries old.
What's the old saying? What was once old is now new again.
That's right. That's right. We're
And-
recycling.
Yeah, in a form there.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind if I digress a little bit, the part that I was reading about your background is that you deal a lot with, now this exhibit deals with the land routes,
Yes.
but you deal with things like you said, it's on the maritime.
That's right.
And one of your areas was shipwrecks.
Yes. Yes.
So I wasn't joking about that, folks, earlier when I really, that's why I wanted to bring this up. That sounds quite fascinating. How does one study such a thing?
Well, I have had a really blessed life that I'm able to actually travel through my research and examine shipwrecks that have been recovered from the Indian Ocean trade. So I work with shipwrecks dating from anywhere from the 9th century
Wow.
all the way to the 16th century. And I tell you what, there is nothing like, examining and holding something that's been underwater for 800 years and you see fingerprints on it. I mean, it's real. That's what made me fall in love with history and with archaeology.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, we're back to the 9th. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I would imagine in a lot of these shipwrecks, there's certain things that predominantly you find there.
Oh, we find ceramics, and what's so fascinating, these cargoes would have had all kinds of things. They certainly would have had silks, but silk doesn't survive very well underwater.
No, I wouldn't think so.
So what survives are the durable goods for the most part. I'm really interested also in the history of medicine, and one really surprising thing is that sometimes ceramic storage jars, if they're packed really, really well, will still have herbal medicines and spices inside them even centuries later. So
That's amazing.
yeah, we can actually identify and say, oh look, this is star anise, or this is incense or frankincense, and we can trace the connections across the planet so many centuries ago.
Well, I'll tell you, it's fascinating. Maybe I'll have you back some other time just to talk about that area, because I think this would be something that most of us around here that would be, for lack of a better term, pretty foreign to most people.
Sure, yeah.
In this study, it sounds quite fascinating to me.
Sure, I would love to. I'd love to be back. Yeah.
Well, again today we want to talk about Silk Road.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to go back and recycle again, give them the same information. I think we pretty much covered what's at this exhibit.
Great.
You don't want to miss it, because there's a lot of unique things that you're never going to see.
Yeah.
I mean, the average person would never see. So here's your opportunity to come see it. Again, the exhibit is called The Silk Road. It's currently at the Kuhn Fine Arts Gallery at Morrill Hall at the Ohio State University-Marion, at the Ohio State University-Marion Campus. Again, Morrill Hall, the Kuhn Fine Arts Gallery, through March 15th. Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 you can see this. Thursday evenings from 5 to 7 in the month of February. Throw in your March one now.
And then in March, on only March 14th, we will be open until 9 o'clock. If you're coming for the 5 nights event, you'll be able to also sneak in and see the gallery.
All right. I'm going to, I want to thank you for making the trip over. And as you know, you folks at the Ohio State University-Marion are some of our founding people for Marion County now, and helping us and putting this all together. We appreciate having you as, I will say, partners with us, because we want to see things be successful and things like this to get out to the public.
Well, we really appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Well, like I said, it works to the benefit of everybody, doesn't it? So again, I want to give your title and everything, because you got a long title. See, the longer the title, you must be very, again, it was Amanda Respis.
That's right.
PhD, or I should say doctor, Dr. Ruspis. She's the assistant professor of pre-modern world history at the Ohio State University-Marion. Now, I got all the way through that title without stumbling or falling.
There you go.
So, again, I want to thank you for being a guest on the podcast, and I wish you the best in this exhibit. It sounds fascinating, and for those listening or watching us here on YouTube, go over and check this out. It sounds to me like it's extremely interesting, and thanks for making the time to go over.
Thanks so much for having me. Nice.
You're more than welcome.